Hello, thank you for joining me today. My name is Pam LaFountain, and I am an arts educator with the Newport Library Art Center. Today, we are going to be selecting the materials to do the counted cross stitch. This is part one of that video. These materials that we will be looking at include the needle, the floss thread, the cloth, hoops, and patterns. First, this is an example of counted cross stitch. This type of project can be made into a wall hanging, a pillow, a notebook, cover, a greeting card, or anything else that you might imagine. So the needles that you use for counted cross stitch, right here, can really be any kind of sewing needle. But if you are planning on purchasing some of these for a project, you might want to consider two things. First, if you look closely at the eyes, that would be those little holes right there and then right there. If you're going to look for a cross stitch needle, you want a larger hole, more like this one. Okay, and that's because the thread that you use, the floss that you use in cross stitch, is a lot thicker than regular sewing thread. Secondly, it helps if your needle is blunt. Now, this needle right here is very sharp, and that's great for regular sewing or if you're doing an embroidery where you need to poke through material. But with counted cross stitch, as you will see, the thread has, or the material has little holes in it. And if you have a blunter needle like this one, you see I can actually put my finger on there, it's not sharp. A blunt needle, then it's not going to, you're going to find it easier to stab into those holes and not grab other pieces of the material around that you don't want to include. So that's the two things that you might want to think: the eye of the needle and whether it's a blunt object. Okay, so the next thing we want to look at is floss, and floss is a very important part of your project. So in this area around Newport, there are 3 different kinds of floss. So the first one is called DMC. You can see it right there. And instead of using colors and naming things by colors, they use numbers. And there's hundreds of colors, all based on numbers. This is the most common floss. It's used in many, many patterns. You can find this type of floss in most of the area craft stores like Hobby Lobby, Michael's, and Joann's Fabric. So this is the one I would recommend just because it's easier to follow patterns. Now, another type of floss found in the area is this one, and this is called Sullivan. And the reason why I mentioned this is that this floss can be purchased at the Door Mill store right here in Newport. And so the thing about this floss is it does have its own number system. So there's its number. It's usually a fairly long number. But on the paper here that holds it together, you also have the DMC number. So you can use this Sullivan floss on any patterns that you want to use specific colors based on the pattern. So this is that. So the third type of floss that we have is this, and this came out of this package. Now, mine's a little messy, but this was a big package of all different kinds of brightly colored floss. This is great if you're just starting out and you don't have any floss, or if you're someone who likes to use your own colors. You don't really want to follow the pattern, you want to pick the colors. This is great to have. The only problem with this floss is that it's a different company called Loops and Threads. And it also has a number, but those numbers don't correspond to the DMC numbers. And so it becomes very confusing if you're trying to use this material to do a pattern that's using DMC. So, however, I don't see any difference in any of these floss because they all seem to work the same. The other thing that you need to know about floss is that it actually is 6 ply. So that means there's 6 little threads. And usually when you're doing cross stitch, you'll only use 2 or 3 of them. So you'll pull them together, pull them apart. So that really means that out of this skein of thread, you're probably going to have triple the amount it looks like here because you're only using 2 or 3 of these ply. Right? So those are the floss, and they come in hundreds of colors. So the next thing we want to look at is the material. And there is special cross-stitch material. It comes in lots of different colors. So we have some white and some cream. And then I have some blue and some dark blue and some black. So there's lots of different types of material. And you can even get it in a plastic, which is kind of easy to use. I'll show you some projects that use this plastic. And it also comes in a paper form. And usually the paper is this off-white kind of brownish color. This is pretty easy to use, except you have to be very careful when you pull your threads because you could rip the paper. So at this point, I'm going to stop, and you can continue by watching Selecting the Materials to Do Counted Cross Stitch Part 2. Thank you.